Hello and welcome to So Farscape,
A fun-filled Farscape fan cast by a fervent fan.
and a frankly fascinated first-timer.
I'm Cocky.
I'm Kay,
And this is the story So Farscape.
Yes.
Boom, baby!
Join us for episode 320, Into the Lion's Den Part 1, Lambs to the Slaughter.
Yeah, it's been a while since we had such a very, very long episode title. As like, even when you were asking, which episode are we doing today? 320. All right.
You could have told me to, like, when I started writing down, to write smaller, because I ran out of space.
No, exactly. And then you reached for the remote and said, Into the Lion's Den. Okay. And you reached for the remote, Part 1. And then you reached for the remote, Lambs to the Slaughter. And it opens after the previously on Farscape, which I think Claudia Black got to do.
We need to do our the synopsises from our listeners first.
Yes, obviously. So, I've just been so excited.
Absolutely, yes, so absolutely. Let's see, what do we have here? Marky See says, the crew enter Scorpius' command carrier to enact John's wormhole plan, but things quickly go to dren thanks to an unexpected arrival. Prepare for betrayal, mutiny, and jetpacks?
Thanks, Marky See. The red carpet gets rolled out for the crew, but the food could be better, and someone doesn't want to eat at the kiddie table. They didn't go there to fight, but the fight keeps finding them. Thanks, Lucy. Great synopsis.
Yeah, so, yes, we get a,
Prepare the starburst!
Yeah.
we do get a starburst too. Well, later on.
Yeah. Come on. Let's keep going. I'm just so excited for this one. I've been looking forward to this for so long, and honestly, so did a lot of people, because the idea of going to the command carrier existed at the end of season 2. Like there were two things that they knew. Aaron's going to come back somehow. Those were their challenges that they had to face. We've got to figure out the right way for Aaron to come back, and how to get the crew to the command carrier for the end of season 3. And I've just been sitting here marveling, because I know that throughout the entire production of season 3, Farscape is an expensive production for Australia.
Yeah.
But they still got more than their money's worth. So over the course of season 3, like, new sets for Talon were built, and sometimes new sets for other locations were built. And every time that Tim Ferrier, the set designer, went about that, he was instructed to also keep in mind, how can we turn this into a command carrier location with just a bit of paint or a lighting change, real quick, real cheap, so we can get a lot of bang for our buck in the...
Okay, it sounds like a so I'm going to ask this now, because I know it's going to come up.
Yep.
Did they, at this point, already know whether or not they were renewed for season 4?
I don't know that for sure.
Yeah. Because, this is like episode 320, Into the Lion's Den Part 1, which means it's probably going to be another 3-parter, because we're going to run towards the end of the episode, towards the season.
It's a 22-episode season,
Right, so I was just curious what if they already know whether or not they'll be they've been renewed, because that kind of like plays with your expectations in how they set things up for a... Are they going to try to complete a whole and make it so, like, if we don't get renewed, then we still have a more or less complete thing, but we can extend it? Or if...
See, I don't know that. It didn't come up in any of my research, which leads me to believe that they were very confident. I mean, Farscape has throughout its run done very well in ratings. It was a big hit for the Sci-Fi Channel. Not such a big hit in Australia, but partly that's also because of lack of promotion and airing.
Okay, so there's like they were probably gambling on the fact that they were going to be renewed for season 4.
Seems that they were confident, yeah.
Okay, that's it. That'll just help me set my expectations for how to read things into how...
No, it's an interesting question, though. Like, I honestly don't know. If they did have doubts, then evidently they just decided to go for it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
True. I mean, like, go big has always been the Farscape way.
Big swings, even if that means stupid people in a diner that Kaki doesn't love. And even if that means starting with a black and white sort of Johnny comes marching home, like World War II army scene, which is where we start off, a conversation between John and Harry.
Okay, so which movie are they lampooning here, or making, or is it just a generic World War II movie, or is this a specific movie that they're referring to?
If it's a specific one, it didn't come up in my research.
No, okay.
But like even the background music is a slow version of Johnny Comes Marching Home again. Right. Hurrah, hurrah! Or we ants go marching 2 by 2.
Marching through a smelly, bug-infested jungle. This is your idea of a good time. I bet you don't get a lot of second dates.
And it's John who... I mean, he's in his new season 3 leather jacket, but it might as well be like a bomber jacket from from the First or Second War,
especially filmed in black and white.
Yeah,
and yes, Harvey is having a little "oh no, but I'm going to die" new recruit thing going for him.
Oh, that's a great description. Yeah, he's got that vibe that he's chattering versus Crichton being the sort of grizzled veteran who keeps his eyes on the mission.
Very much. Very much so.
Turn back, John. Shut up, Private. We're going in. If Scorpius discovers you intend to sabotage his wormhole research, he'll kill you, John. And if you perish, so do I.
Yeah, because Harvey is advising him, okay, you got to be careful because Scorpius is dangerous to us both.
Yeah.
Because Harvey, by this point, so he says...
doesn't want to die anymore, because that's what John says.
Thought you wanted to die. Not anymore. I want to survive. Then follow orders.
So...
Yeah. So, actually, let's pause there. How are you feeling about Harvey? Because he is someone whose motivations notoriously have changed.
Fickle, yes.
Or at least his stated motivations have changed.
Yes. I mean, it's interesting because, other John got rid of his Harvey.
Oh,
I wonder if this Harvey knows that. I mean, did, Aaron talk to John about, how other John got rid of Harvey? Is it now known to Harvey that he can be get rid of? There's stuff like that playing around.
Well, yeah, that's a fair point. We have indeed seen two Harveys who had life experiences that were as different as the two Johns. So what has this Harvey experienced? He's seen, the defection of Linfer, which comes up again in this episode.
I mean, I'm almost inclined to say that he is probably still looking out for number one, because of course he is. But he is not particularly malicious in it. I mean, he knows that he's, dependent on John's survival for his own, and unless he can do a takeover, which didn't work out for the other one very well.
No, that was I'm taking you down with me. So there's an interesting sort of connection almost between John and Harvey, and Harvey actually seems to be on his side. Later on, it comes up.
Yes, absolutely. So I think he is. I think he's playing ball for the time being, unless. Yeah, of course, if an opportunity arises that he might see more benefit by not playing ball, then he'll probably still take that chance. I mean, I don't think that Harvey has a lot of loyalty towards John. I just think that he can be. Yeah, I think he can be trusted to play that he is playing the facts as they are, or at least the situation as he sees it.
All right.
So
sort of like from the animated series The Tick. You can't blow up the Earth. That's where I keep all my stuff.
Yeah.
Then there's a really cool transition. There's a close-up of John in black and white, and then the black and white fades, and he's sitting in the transport pod.
Everybody's bickering.
Rigel just reported in from the command carrier. Scorpius is sending marauders to escort us in.
Or blast us into particles.
Why is your hair red?
Because I'm anxious, okay? I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why I came along, and I don't know why we didn't jump ship when you said we would.
Because we'd be nowhere near a populated planet.
As usual.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the three people who decided they were going to go to the command carrier. There's John, Aaron, and Grace, and Jewel and Chiana, neither of whom were intending to go.
No.
Apparently, Chiana mentioned that there wasn't a habitable planet nearby, but
quick little hand wave, yeah.
But why did Jewel go? The peacekeepers don't know that she exists.
No. And she is kind of nervous about it, because there's this little comment about, why is your hair red? And it's because I'm anxious.
Yeah, Grace wasn't around to get that explained to him numerous times. But I like that that's a question that he asked. Why is your hair red? John even suggests, okay, turn this around. We're going to drop them off on Moya.
I'm going to turn this car around if you kids don't stop bickering.
Yeah.
We get a beautiful shot of Moya and Talon.
Yes, they're hiding out around some planet where Moya has towed Talon.
Yes.
And she's under a great deal of stress. And Shiana says, yeah, well, you should see the rest of us.
Yeah. Pilot is also, a little bit, Pilot is piloting. He's being his usual kind of snide self. I mean, I like how Pilot has made his transition from being a kind of cowering, nervous.
Put upon accountant. That was his archetype.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, not very self-confident, not very,
Yeah.
And he turned into it as a snide little, well, not least, there's nothing little about Pilot, but he's
exactly. And he's, he stands up for himself. And
he does
Moya
now,
as well. And they do very well.
And we're treated to a lovely, gorgeous shot of the fleet.
Isn't it amazing?
It is gorgeous.
Just the sheer scale of it.
It's on par with Star Wars big battle shots. Although it's lit out differently, but...
Yeah, there's more haze, which I really love. Like, that sells some of the scale. But we also, we fly through the... what's it called? The sort of servant fleet, the accompaniment of...
Right, yeah.
We have a destroyer and it's... What's that called?
Well, you're thinking of a...
battle group.
Yes, you're thinking of an aircraft carrier.
That's what I'm thinking
Aircraft carrier battle group is what it's called.
It's a command carrier.
Right, yeah.
So we recognize some of these ships as marauders. I think some of these ships are unfamiliar, but they might... Oh, no, they're not the same as Alex's craft, which was what was that again?
Ooh.
Pantac class vigilante.
Yes.
I don't know.
Oh, dear. Why don't I remember that?
I mean, that was it's mentioned later on when because it's one of the things that has the pulse cannon that disables my.
A vigilante with an immobilizer pulse.
Yeah, and I remember thinking, okay, they're going to mention it here again.
It was mentioned later on, but
No, there was a marauder and 2 prowlers, but the marauder is a landing craft that we've seen.
Yes.
And not a. I want to say something with a V.
Talon has identified it as the Vigilante.
Oh God, this is gonna vex me. There. Yeah, so they're escorted in, and there's just this enormous sense of scale. Like there's this, it might as well be a planet, and there's a wormhole. This is casually a wormhole.
I mean, that's been there for ages because that's the wormhole that they were using in the other research.
A synthetic wormhole that they've just kept open because he's close, Scorpius. But
I mean, I assume that's the wormhole they were using for the earlier research. I mean, we see our wormhole research alien.
Strepha. Kokura Strepha.
Strapper.
That's still where they're hanging out.
I mean, he looks weird, but he's got this lovely nervous smile that he does, and it's like...
I told you about that, right?
Yeah.
That as soon as they put the makeup on, he did a big smile for everyone, and they just... We're doing that. That's you. That's you. It's the best thing. And we even get to see, the command carrier has these rings around it where the frag cannons run on rails.
Oh, yes.
Sort of flying through the rings and just seeing the tremendous scale and into this hangar bay that's bristling with weapons. I love these shots.
And then you see like almost Star Warsian again, welcoming committee. Everybody's
Bingo.
to the
It's a deliberate homage to the medal scene in Star Wars: A New Hope.
Oh, I was going to say the scene of Darth Vader arriving on the Death Star the first time around. That's what it more invoked me of.
Yeah, you're right that there's that as well. Yeah.
And then later on they do the same thing for Palpatine, but then on an even grander scale.
Yeah, well, just with a bigger painting.
Right,
Painting. Fantastic art. Yeah, there's a red carpet. There's red drapery.
Of course, it's red. It's peacekeepers.
They've got options. It could also be black.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pitch black.
There's a sort of grumbling honor guard of peacekeepers. Lots of people wearing their hair in queues. And at the end, Scorpius, who raises his arms in welcome.
Yes, everybody comes down again from the Prowler. We get a good shot of the Prowler landing.
Transport pod is this?
Sorry, transport pod. Yes,
Yep.
my bad. And yes, as everybody walks the gauntlet of the honor guard.
Yeah.
I love how John just sticks his hand out to Erin and goes give it a little test there.
Yeah.
And he gets his thumb twisted around and Scorpius winces and it's
yeah, good.
Scorpius gives him this angry look and he goes just testing, just making sure
And a
you're on
bunch
the
of
level.
other officers as well. They're at the ready, and then the commanders are no, hold on. Brilliant. It's such a tense situation.
Yep.
So much can go wrong, and so many people are working to keep it under control.
So it's kind of interesting that everybody, all the peacekeepers are so tense here, because I mean they know they're in the majority. They've got a whole command carry on. If anything goes wrong, then worst case scenario is that Scorpius dies, and then they've got something to explain. But Scorpius did this to himself, so you'd think that they don't really have any reason to be worried.
Yeah, but if they fail to protect Scorpius and then Scorpius survives, then
Right.
they're in trouble. This is the sort of eternal vice that the peacekeepers are in, especially on this ship, where, as we learn over the course of the episode, this was Krace's command carrier. And then Scorpius seized control after his, honestly, before his escape.
Yes.
And so this crew, which is like, I think it's mentioned, 50,000 people who
Something like that, yeah.
lived under Krace's command. And then, like, apparently he was not universally beloved by his people. And they hate Scorpius even more.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
this
Krace
episode,
was not. Yeah, Krace was not a popular commander, apparently.
Right. I mean, we only see glimpses of Peacekeeper World, of the Peacekeeper World, and we sort of extrapolate from that. And here we realize just how much more complex it is. Because, like, I'm sure that those soldiers would love to just execute these criminals and be done with it and get back to work. And their commanders probably would agree with them, but they have an obligation to fulfill their
rules to follow. Yes.
Yeah. There's even a little glance between Krace and actually a few people exchange glances. Like, at first it looks like a short-haired woman in the peacekeeper ranks is looking at Aaron, but then Krace sort of glances at her as well. There's a lot being implied in this lovely long walk before Scorpius.
Lots of angry looks, lots of nervous looks. Yeah.
There's even more pageantry here than usual. There's a sort of almost, I mean, it looks like a Starship Trooper eagle logo in the background. Do you remember the Starship Troopers?
I'm doing my part.
This logo that looked like an eagle and also like a B-52 bomber and also like a, I mean, there's certain swastika.
I mean, it was meant to look a little bit fascist, of course, but that was, of course, Paul Verhoeven laying it on thick.
Yeah. And here as well, you know, the vertical banners, there's a strong, I mean, fascism is a difficult thing to pin down, sort of visually and culturally, because, like, Spanish fascism isn't the same as Russian fascism or Japanese fascism or when those cultures were subject to fascism, that is. I mean, they have a shared love of mythology and pageantry and symbolism, but it expresses itself in very different ways. So there's a lot of the uniform designs is reminiscent of, like, revolutionary Bolshevik costume designs.
I noticed that, like, Scorpius's outfit almost like is going a little bit samurai with the big
with the shoulder pauldrons,
the big shoulder pauldrons and stuff like that. Especially in this, I mean, I haven't noticed it much before, but especially now when you get a lot of shots from him from behind and you see those huge. It's like it
when he
might be
raises his arm,
really short cape or really huge pauldrons. I'm not quite sure which it is, but
I think you're right. Like, It's got this sort of black snakeskin look, but it's also evocative of, like, woven armor or wicker or bamboo armor, which was very effective with the cultures who use it. It's lightweight, it's good against arrows, flexible, breathes well, comfy.
Yeah.
And he extends a hand, and John shakes hands with Scorpius.
Yes.
I grant you, John, and your companions, full diplomatic rights, immunities, and courtesies whilst aboard this vessel.
Woof.
I mean, there was a lot of good interaction between the two in this episode. Yeah, I enjoyed that. It's an entirely... Because John has had a lot more interaction with Scorpius than Scorpius knows he has. Like, I mean, I say Scorpius, I mean Harvey, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's like... John probably knows how to read Scorpius a lot better than Scorpius thinks that he does.
Yeah. Well... And it's also true the other way, because Scorpius has explored the neural clone of John as well.
Absolutely.
So he knows a bit more about John's responses than John is aware. And it's a fantastic game because both of them act hugely against type compared to all their previous interactions.
Yes.
John is a bully.
It's a good deal for you.
Oh. Uncontested.
John pushes and pushes and pushes the way that Scorpius usually did.
Right.
And Scorpius here is accommodating and just giving and ceding ground more and more and more just to keep this deal afloat.
I mean, his as we learn, his reputation or his plans all hinge on this. So he really wants this to work. And John really wants it not to work, but he can't let on to that. And therefore he just he makes those demands whenever there's a a setback, he just one-ups and goes like, well, of course there is a setback because like I don't have this or I don't have that and you don't give me this. And
I don't assist.
John!
Screw you and your intentions, Scorp. I do not eat at the kiddie table. Now, you either give me the big toys or you send me home.
But if you think about, like, the last time that they had real strong interactions... Actually, I don't know if it's the last time, but I'm thinking about, like, Look at the Princess.
Oh, hello, Crichton.
Where Scorpius came in, and he was the one who continually pressed his advantage.
Even though he didn't have any, because he was like...
Exactly.
He was there a guest. He was a guest there anyway.
And he just constantly tested John and the Moyans and pressed and pressed and pressed. I guess that's what John learned.
Yeah.
I guess that's also why Scorpius is quite so willing to cede ground. Like, turnabout's fair play. This is a valid strategy, and he's not claiming any territory that he's not entitled to.
No, and Scorpius doesn't really have anything to counter that with, I suppose.
Yep.
Like, his strength is the fact that he is in control of the entire environment. But that's also almost a bit of a weakness because it doesn't give him any pressure, any pressure points, and leverage. It's like he knows that like John has made it very clear, very early on, that he is willing to die here. Like he is willing to like kill Scorpius and take the bullet himself, so to speak.
Yep. If that's the alternative, like he has nothing left to give.
Yep.
So he walks in, like, especially this big-dogging Bracca, who tries to be the lieutenant. Hey, but you're not supposed to...
What incentive is there for us to work on Crace?
Bracca, you want to go another round with me?
Yeah.
Come on, you know how that worked for you the last time.
I mean, I love Bracca's role in this episode, even though it's fairly minor. But he just kind of like gets ordered about, and he's just like... clearly uncomfortable in the whole situation. But
Poor Bracca.
But he still plays his part as a good lieutenant.
It must be so heartbreaking for him, because he's used to being, the apple of Scorpius's eye.
Yes.
And now he's being dismissed. Like, he thinks he's standing up for Scorpius against Crichton. But no, Crichton always gets what he wants.
He does, in this case, yes. So, sorry, hang on. So one more... kind of thing. It's like I noticed in the credits that Tammy Wynette was like as a guest starring. It's like I guess she's still not a full cast member.
Oh, I'm not sure if it was this one or the last one. Tammy McIntosh.
Sorry, it's McIntosh. Yes. Not Tammy Wynette. That's a country singer.
Rather a good one, as I understand.
Oh yes.
No, I don't know exactly. It's possible. Yeah, her crediting was a bit inconsistent. I think even in the last one, Yench, she wasn't credited at all, which she usually still is, even in episodes where she didn't appear.
Right.
So, I don't know, maybe some contractual inadequacies, because, as far as we're concerned, she's a regular cast member. She's been in every episode where she's relevant, same as the rest of the cast.
Yeah. So, all right. Anyway, sorry.
So this
we
big
digress.
dogging, this big dogging was necessary because John walks in of this carefully negotiated deal with another demand.
Ah, yes.
The healing of Talon. Crace lays out the demand of full replacement of all cognitive systems and a disarmament, and he has to be brought aboard, and I need these projects, and Bracca bristles.
That was not part of the deal.
But John says
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. No, wait, wrong series again.
And also, this is chump change. It's not for Crace, it's for me.
Yeah.
This is an easy give.
Yeah. Just go on, give it to us.
Yeah, like withholding this at the start is not the right move. Which is something that he's learned from Scorpius, who's done exactly that. He usually walks into a deal and immediately demands more.
Yeah.
Because that's a good way to test whether someone wants the deal.
Bringing a gunship aboard is too much to ask.
His weapons have been deactivated. Tex will remove them. He will be reprogrammed and set free.
No guns, no peacekeeper memories, no emotional problems.
And Crace gets what he wants.
Yes, they agree to bring in Talon. They give them the coordinates where they can find Talon and Moya, which is going to come back to bite them later.
Yep. And he requests to be brought to his quarters with full project schematics and a Leviathan expert. Oh, let's say Lieutenant Laurel.
Any particular reason?
No, she's the best.
Most qualified?
Yeah. Yes, no, nothing suspicious there at all. No. Although for different reasons than I expected, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was a good triple cross, wasn't it?
It was.
Scorpius says that the crew have been invited to enjoy themselves and relax at the officers' mess.
Where there's a little soiree, a little mingler, get to know each other, which turns out to be, the atmosphere is like not exactly hospitable, I would say.
What a location, though. The ceiling is so tall, and there's a big sort of eagle crest on the wall. It's so ostentatious.
I mean, food's been laid out, and I still don't know. What those things are. Those brain cabbages or whatever. Whatever the hell are those things that are laying there?
What's a brain cabbage?
I don't know. I mean, these things, Like
no, I'm looking at the thing, but you said brain cabbage. Is that a real thing?
I mean, they're kind of like both cabbage-shaped and brain-shaped, so I don't know.
Well,
but they're kind of like purple and orange, so they're like deep-fried like turkeys. I don't know what they're...
you're making me hungry. You know what it reminds me of? Those very, very few occasions that I've made use of like an executive lounge at an airport.
Right.
There was one glorious, incredibly busy year in my life where I did so much traveling that I actually gained access to the KLM lounge at Schiphol. And it was great. I was still a smoker at the time. You had a smoker lounge with just actual seats and air.
Get a place and like load it up with all kinds of snacks and things and free booze.
Yeah. I mean, none of it was great, but there sure was a lot, and it was free once you're there.
There you go.
That sort of reminded me of it here, and there's all of these tables where people are lounging out, and absolutely nobody wants to deal with these interlopers.
There's a little club of 3 bully-type officers sitting there.
There is a sort of first day of high school vibe, isn't there?
Very much so. Like, that's the popular kids' table, and now they're just sitting there, like, staring at everybody. Nobody is feeling particularly welcome. Aaron just, like, walks up to the bar, grabs a bottle and a couple of glasses. A couple of people whisper, like, traitor, and stuff like that. And we get a lot of that, and that's kind of that for that scene. But, like, we get the same thing later when there's a walk and talk with Grace and Braca, and, like, they're walking through the corridors on the way to, I don't know what, like
his
Talon
quarters.
His quarters.
So these are
right, yes.
This is maybe a little bit confusing, but these are command carrier corridors, but it's basically a redress of the Talon corridors.
Right. That
just
makes sense.
With different lighting.
Yeah. And it's like people are like whispering like Trace, and people are bumping into Grace, and it's like it's a very interestingly shot scene of how they make it very clear that Grace was not like that popular, and definitely not anymore now. That
since
after
his defection, yes.
I
wonder if they get special training in passive aggression. Like,
there's not much passive about it.
No, but like you've got to make sure that you're at least 3/4 out of their field of view before you can whisper your insult, and make sure it's no more than 2 syllables.
Yeah.
So traitor. A defector, that's iffy.
Yeah, that's long.
And if there's, if there's a superior officer there, make sure that you only pass on the other side, then you can whisper it. It's like, I'm sure that there's all kinds of regulations about how you can bitch someone out.
There might be a training course. It's probably like when you go to officer corps training that you get that.
Oh, yeah, Erin was an officer. She would have been in the mess before.
Oh.
If it was the officer's mess, but...
Was she now? I mean, pilots...
Officer Sun.
Officer Sun.
Officer Sun.
Officer Sun.
Officer Sun.
Officer Sun.
I mean, that's like flyboys are usually like at least lieutenant. Like you're not a grunt if they give you a plane.
Yeah, that is true, isn't it? Pilots are officer rank.
Yes. I mean, you don't have grunt pilots.
Is that true of all branches of the military? I mean,
well, no, I'm talking about U.S. Military here, and like,
there's 3 with planes. There's the Air Force, the Navy, and the Marines have their own.
The Marines are part of the Navy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got the largest Air Force in the world is the U.S. Air Force.
Yeah.
The second largest Air Force in the world is the U.S. Navy.
There we go. Sorry, I know most of my knowledge about the U.S. Navy comes from the television series Space Above and Beyond.
Fair. Yeah, fair. But yes, I mean, flyboys are always like officers.
Commander Crichton.
Commander Crichton.
Commander Crichton.
Commander Crichton.
Well, you're looking pretty sharp there, Commander Crichton.
Crichton doesn't suffer a much better fate. He's introduced to the gigantic lab hangar, the science department, where Kokura Strappa, so much data.
Oh, yes. Oh, we're going to have so much fun.
Is excited to have you working for me.
I'm delighted to have you assisting us. We've prepared you a workstation. Tell me what you require. I'll have someone obtain it for you.
And it's a little control station that faces a wall, and it's down the stairs. And Crichton sort of grabs the bar stool from it, walks up the stairs,
throws it back on there.
He even sort of nudges Braca or Strappa aside. You stand aside. I'm going to do something dramatic. I need a swing. Here we go.
I don't assist.
and smashes it and turns to Scorpius, I'm not sitting at the kiddie table.
Now, you either give me the big toys or you send me home.
Love that.
Give me the full access to the big stuff.
Yeah. You want me to work? Let's work. Oh, I remember... Oh, I'm going to paraphrase it. It was a joke that I learned from The Newsroom, a very good series. And it was about Jesus, Moses, and Muhammad are golfing.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Moses strikes his ball, and it's pretty wide. You know, it heads into the woods, but then the woods grow vines that sort of divert the river that feeds the pond, and that sort of carries the ball to the hole, and it's a hole-in-one. And then it's Muhammad's turn, and he hits it really hard, overshoots the mark, but then an eagle, caw, comes out of nowhere, snatches it out of the air, and drops it into the hole, and it's a hole-in-one. And then Jesus turns to Moses and to Muhammad and says, are we going to play golf or are we going to fuck around?
Fair.
So he's here to play golf.
I came to work. For or against me?
And then, there's a lot of cutting back and forth between locations. Now, Crace is in his quarters.
Yes.
And I immediately recognized this as, do you remember where Jelena and Chiana were back in, I think it was Nerve, when they were infiltrating Scorpius's Gammak base?
Yes, I actually have that written down as a
Yes,
note.
you saw it as well!
Yes, I saw it, this is one of those quarters.
The weird sort of corridor with the pipes.
Corridor in the middle of the room where they...
Leather padding.
I was like, this is a reuse of that Gammak base set. It's very clear that was...
It's so... I'm starting to think, is that maybe... Oh, no, none of the padding is on the ground, so it's off to the cardinal corners.
Well, Braca says it's better than a cell, but I get the impression that they put him in a lower ranking...
Oh, yeah.
Quarters. It's
and
not
Crace is completely above it.
Yeah, he's
right?
Whatever.
Not as salubrious as your previous accommodations. Still, considering the fact you should be in our brig, I suppose you can't complain. Don't bother searching for surveillance. You're not that important.
He doesn't even dignify it with an answer. Hey, I wonder if that sort of tunnel is for recreating.
Oh.
If that's where you can sort of turn off the gravity with however many of you there are.
That sounds complicated.
I don't want to say bench, but I kind of mean a bench.
I don't know, man. The sex in 0G would be really difficult because of the whole action and reaction stuff, and you don't have to...
That's why you do it in a tunnel. Then you've got lots of options.
I suppose. Yeah. Well, anyway... Before we digress too far.
Crace is totally stone-faced to Braca. And even as Braca is snidely, he's taken officer-level courses in passive aggression, snidely insulting Crace, Crace turns around and says,
Lieutenant Braca, I predicted your rise in this organization. I stand by that prediction.
You are a consummate peacekeeper.
Yeah. And Braca doesn't really know what to do with that.
No.
He's just like, wait, why am I getting complimented? It's like...
Yeah, but you think that's a burn, but I don't. And which of us is wrong?
I didn't even catch it as a burn.
Well, someone who's turned his back on the peacekeepers, calling someone a peacekeeper? A consummate peacekeeper?
Yeah, maybe.
It's not something that Crace respects anymore, right?
I'm not entirely sure. I think,
Really?
he made his bed and he lies in it, but I don't know if he, still doesn't think that the peacekeepers have a merit to them.
But he bonded with... he's spoken that he's bonded with Talon over their mutual trauma at the hands of the peacekeepers and the peacekeeper treatment of their parents.
I suppose there's there's a lot of parallels between Talon and Crace in how they got reft away from their parents into
exploited that. Yeah.
to work for the peacekeepers. So no, you have a point there. I agree.
This is too weird being here. How long were you a prisoner?
8 cycles.
And you were born here, grew up within these walls. It must have been awful.
Meanwhile, in the officers' lounge, there's a little bit of back and forth, and Jewel was going oh, you grew up here? This must have been terrible. Because it's a super hostile environment to them.
Yeah.
And of course, Eren never experienced it in that way, which we actually see in a flashback where we see the 3 bullies at the table, which suddenly turn into her, a lady who I still cannot place. She reminds me of someone, and I have no idea who it is.
So it's another short-haired woman. It's a popular hairstyle.
Yeah.
This woman, this is a different one than the other one. So
yeah.
this is Henta.
Yeah.
I don't remember her surname.
But she reminds me of something. The actress is like, it might just be like in a few of the scenes where she's acting.
She's wearing a tank top so she has short hair, so maybe Starbuck from Battlestar.
Yeah, I know what you think, but
Not
that's not where I
quite,
was
but-
going. It's almost British accent that,
Is
but, I mean, more British than normal. It's like,
I mean, she doesn't speak with a Bogan accent, which is also a fine, lovely accent.
Yes.
I love
but yeah, they have
committed accents like
but
that.
we have her, and she actually comes back very shortly afterwards. We see her like laughing with Erin.
Yeah, she gives her almost... it's cruel.
For the love of Cholak. I heard you were here, but I didn't believe it.
Will you have a drink with me?
Thank you.
She also took the advanced course in passive aggression.
Yes.
Giving her a sense of security and like, will you drink with me? And she grabs the cup and then she tosses it in Erin's face. Ugh!
But I only drink with peacekeepers.
Which at first I thought was just her not wanting to, like, I mean, I immediately got like past relationship sensation between
Right.
her in the chemistry between Erin and, what did you say her name was?
Henta.
Hang on, let me write that down.
Yeah.
Because that name's going to come up a few more times.
I mean, they appear to be very good friends.
Yes, exactly.
This is a very good friend.
When she throws the water in her face and walks off, or I don't know what it is, then I got like, okay, she's kind of like protecting herself. She doesn't want to be, because everybody in the room is very negative towards the people sitting here, and she doesn't want to be seen as being friendly. You know, it's like you don't want to be the kid who is friendly to the kid who's being bullied, because then you're going to get bullied as well.
But that's a cowardly move and unworthy of respect.
I know, but it might have been.
I get it.
Yeah.
But that would sort of set her character up as different. I mean, she can be principled and stand for what she
Right.
believes, or she can be.
Which we get later. She actually believes that Erin was a traitor, and they have a few discussions about this later on in the episode.
Am I a traitor? Well, that depends upon your definition.
Define it how you like. You're the one who left.
Chiana, in the meantime, starts putting on the old Chiana charm.
Jenner, I think we should be moving along.
We were just getting to know each other.
I know exactly what you are.
Huh?
An Abari Trelk. The Luxana took a Sabatian wife and then murdered her.
Dargo, we didn't come here to fight.
No. I wouldn't dream of it.
Exactly what she tried back in the Gamak base.
Yes, and it
2 seasons ago.
Works a lot less than it did back then, because now people are like, oh, we're onto here's a little Nibari trowel. That's, I believe, the
Tralk, yeah.
Tralk. That's it.
See, I wonder if the difference there is the other one was a Gamak base, was a space station, and would have had. No, it was a secret Gamak base, so they wouldn't have had more exposure. Well, they did talk about he has a non-regulation server.
That Bootshine captain got a non-reg server like your board. Guess he's not a bigger nerfer as I thought he was.
Yeah.
So they might have seen more non-Sebastians coming through, whereas like the strict purity and racism. Like I almost get the feeling, like command carriers. Like, life on a command carrier is canonical peacekeeper life. And anyone who grows up off a command carrier is almost like colonial.
Right. Plus, there's the whole, like, the irreversible contamination, which is like, just the fact that these people who can contaminate you apparently are walking around on the command carrier is a bit of an offense on its own.
Yeah, absolutely true. Like, here is a walking, talking cootie.
Yes.
Right? You're being flirted with by our cootie.
Yes.
And Dargo sort of comes to her aid, and everyone sort of tries to diffuse the situation. It's Erin who goes up, hey, Dargo, we didn't come here to fight.
No.
Which, I really like this scene, because he wasn't just sort of standing up out of machismo. He was standing up for his friend. They have arrived at a new situation, and it's a complicated situation where everybody has to remind each other, okay, these are the priorities that we have, weigh them.
And make sure that everything goes the right way, yes.
Well, I mean, it can mean that for Dargo, this deal is not worth the offense to Chiana, and then we'd stand with Dargo. Like, we stand with each other there, but let's definitely weigh it.
Yeah. It all gets diffused a bit when Braca shows up.
Ah, Braca.
And everybody starts making like demands of Braca, or at least like what happened to the deal that we had.
Because Dargo and Rigel have been on the command carrier since the diner.
Yes.
They went with them, and they had certain components of the deal, like, you owe me a political breakdown of Hyneria.
Braca gives him a little data carrier, which apparently contains the current political situation of the Hynerian Empire.
Rigel's quite pleased, although the food could be better.
Yes. And apparently
cabbages,
Dargo had a few demands as well, like one, a surgery, which he's apparently entitled to undergo whenever he wants to, and two, information about someone called Macton, I go. I don't think I've heard that name before, but you know how I am with names.
I do, which is why I'll happily tell you.
Yeah.
Macton Tal was the name of his wife's murderer. Remember
okay.
way back when?
Yeah.
Is his name Macton?
Macton Tal.
His Sebastian wife Lolan,
Yeah.
her brother was a peacekeeper,
Mm-hmm.
and he killed his own sister
Right,
out of disgust for having a child. Yes, exactly.
Which, I mean, literally gets thrown in his face at some point during this episode where, I don't know who it is, but someone says like, oh yes, married a peacekeeper and then killed her.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
I think it's one of the bullies who says that.
Which is still the prevailing, a myth that's being perpetrated, but he's insisted on getting information about Macton Tal, current whereabouts and status.
Unknown, or at least not revealed to the watcher, the viewer.
There's only one reason that Dargo would ask for that, which is to pay him a visit.
Yes, true.
Yeah, he's got a new crusade. So yes, that's Macton, and I'm sure a lot of people missed that because it's a name that was mentioned in season 1 and then never again. But a lot of people, myself included, flocked to the interwebs
and
to see
find
just
Macton,
who was Macton. Oh yes, awesome.
Yes.
Drink in Aaron's face, and John is at work. He's poking around. They've got this cool little screen that looks like a transparent screen, but it's actually just a sheet of semi-transparent plastic.
With a projector pointing at it, yeah.
I didn't completely know for sure that was the case. I thought maybe, had they taken an LCD screen and somehow taken the backing off of it?
Which would... but then you still have to light it. No.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's just quickly... well, not quickly, but let's just summarize this engagement, because this is like a threat that's going to come back a few more times.
Yeah.
Basically, John is stalling. John is talking to our scientist friend, and he is like stalling the work on the wormhole.
Yeah. Under the guise of being limited. Like, any time that they place any kind of limitation, he throws a fit and he refuses to continue. Like, give me the big toys.
Yes. Give me access to this. I want access to that. Show me the data. Show me what you have.
That you got from the neural chip, and we'll compare that to Linfers. And every time Strappa goes, but they're super, super classified.
And Scorpius goes like, yes, give it to him. Like, yeah, as you said
Scorpius
earlier.
says, yeah, give it to him. Give it to him.
As you said earlier, it's like it's the reversal of roles, basically. Keep making more demands and keep seeing how far the other person will back off.
Yeah.
And even then, he is still not cooperating. He's talking to Aaron at some point, and they're talking, saying like, oh, well, yeah, I see like half a dozen ways that I can like stall their research for cycles.
Destroy everything, which he hasn't seen a delete button yet, and
No.
he's using the big toys, so that was the initial phase of his plan. Plan B is...
steer him in the wrong direction, except I don't know which way that is.
And
Plan C is like, run.
Forget about the plan and run away. And she asked him, like, are you serious? Oh, yes, we're about to get to exactly that scene.
Oh,
Because
yes,
we've got
we are,
to
yes.
Dargo, who's sitting in an obstetric chair.
Oh, I don't know. It's just, I think more of a dentist chair, actually.
Yeah,
Yes.
and a surgeon is performing surgery on him
With bolt cutters.
How's the pain? I can increase the anesthetic mist.
You doing all right, big guy?
Well enough. Only just taking slightly longer than I expected.
My apologies. These rings weren't designed to be removed.
Yeah, and all of his friends sort of standing around the chair.
I like that. I mean, so we are in the surgery sauna, and
Yeah.
which seems to be a communal affair there, where people just go and hang out, and
Yeah.
So it's finally the rings that are going through his clavicle are being removed, and it turns out they're not actually going behind his clavicle, but they're actually attached to his clavicle. It seems.
Yeah, because as they're being removed, there's chunks of bone still on the edge.
they're kind of like more horseshoe shaped.
It sort of makes sense that there was some method to fuse the ends to the bone rather than piercing it.
I mean, I always thought they went just behind the bone, which
I
seems
did
to
too.
which seems to make more sense. But
I mean, going through them would weaken the bone, and then it would be easier to break.
yeah, the surgeon actually says they were actually not designed to be removed. So it takes a bit
Very
of
peacekeeper.
pain and discomfort, and then after they're gone, you're like, yeah, just go sit over there in the healing mist, where everybody else is as well. And they're wearing these like cool, glittery, I don't know, sauna robes, whatever they are.
Beautiful silver pajamas.
Yeah.
Which, hey, John, how did you take off your leather jacket with that gigantic bracelet?
Oh, ooh.
How did you get into these pajamas, John? Did you cut up your jacket? Oh, what a waste.
That wouldn't do. Interesting point. I had not considered that, but yes.
Apparently neither did anyone else.
No.
Like, it's one of those things that comes up on the message board and everybody goes, yeah. Well, I had other stuff to worry about.
Wardrobe, well, not malfunction, but yes. I mean, I noticed that Jules' hair is still red at this point, so I guess they just went for the full red wig, or just like at least her adrenaline levels haven't returned to normal yet.
I kind of like that throughout this you see, I mean, when she said, like, oh, this must have been an awful place to grow up, what was your university like? This must be so familiar. Like, I was...
Fair point, yeah.
I mean, I went to university in Amsterdam, and I had a very chill sort of educational upbringing.
Yeah.
And even I remember the sort of intimidation of like different tables with people that you don't know and social structures that seem to already be in place that you're late to the party to, and expectations, and like this should be incredibly familiar to her. But okay, apparently she's still feeling low-level anxiety, which I guess sort of suggests that she's very comfortable with Moya now because her hair's been consistently brown.
So she's chilling with Dargo, and one of the goons shows up because like the goons are having
so bizarre.
They're having a little to get together, and they go like, "Oh well, we don't like them, and what are we going to do about them?" And
yeah, it's back in the mess. There's Officer Reglik, I think his name is.
Yeah,
or Reljik.
He's the guy with the scar.
Lieutenant Reljik. We were just getting to know each other.
Yes, the one who refused Chiana's advances.
Yes, and then we've got the moustache guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's got a name. I've seen him named as Mr. Buzzsaw.
Right, because apparently he still has a little thing left from one war or the other, which is like a, strap-on arm that he puts over his regular arm. Because like in the scene before, we can clearly see that he has like 2 regular arms.
Yeah.
How the Frel can Scorpius allow that Luxon on board? Can't stand Luxons. Never could.
Me neither.
Looking down his ugly nose at us. Like to wipe that sneer off his face.
So would I.
You know what might give him a good scare? Have you still got that thing they built for you for the Battle of Stellara?
And so he's got this tactical bra and a sort of arm sheath. Well, I mean, he's got a...
No, I agree.
He looks like, and I know that I've mentioned this before on other podcasts, he looks like Sean Connery in Zardoz.
Yes.
A famous science fiction masterpiece.
Famous,
infamous.
Not that much of a masterpiece either, but yeah.
Where Sean Connery wears a space gunslinger mankini, essentially.
Yes. It's fantastic.
It's sublime.
But yes, he shows up with his buzzsaw attachment on his arm, has a wee fight
What's the fucking point of this?
I have no idea what they were thinking. Because like, they clearly know that they're defying orders because these people have been awarded full guest status and diplomatic status by Scorpius. So I don't know what the Frel they're thinking.
Well, I think Reljik got the other guy a little drunk and riled up, and like if it's an accident, if it's a mistake by an inferior officer, then what would give him a little scare? He even calls it a little scare. That doesn't look like how you scare someone.
No,
waving a buzzsaw at
there's
where
a
they
little
were sitting.
there's a bit of fight in the health sauna. Ends up with
stairs.
The guy. I mean, it kind of looks like one of those like American gladiator arenas, with all the black and with
all the padding.
Yeah, that too. And even though, despite that, Dargo beats him in the fight and tries to save him at the last moment from falling over the edge, he still ends up teetering over, landing on his own buzzsaw.
Yeah. Like, Dargo tried to save him, and then Mr. Buzzsaw swung at his arm, and he had to let go, and he fell on his own buzzsaw.
That just then, Mr. Relk and a little squad show up, And he goes like, oh, this is interesting. Almost like he's going to try to turn to this into like, oh, you killed and assaulted one of our officers.
That is definitely what he was going for.
Yeah, but that's not how you're going to work that. Like, what is he doing like with the buzzsaw in the sauna? It's like
he
how
thought that he could play that to their advantage.
But that's stupid.
John, now you know what stupidity I have to deal with. You must not fail.
It is a little bit stupid. That's what Scorpius explains to him as he's immediately dressed down. Like, the next time that one of your subordinates attacks one of my guests, there will be 2 executions.
Yeah,
there's yours.
Yeah, it's like that. I mean, Scorp, again, even if this wasn't such an obvious, stupid situation, Scorpius is like way too clever to like be caught out by this. So it's like, I don't know what Relk was thinking. It's like, there's no way he could have turned this into a advantageous situation of his own.
Well, there's a reason that he's not polishing Scorpius's boots, but Brackeye is.
Fair point.
The relief that Dargo feels when the rings are out, like even as painful as the operation was through the anesthetic mist, there's such a relief to have them out.
Whew.
I know, there's a lot going on. There's another conversation between Eren and Henta.
Right.
It's a really talky episode, this.
It is.
It's carried by fantastic locations, a stupendous sense of production value, and lots of conversations that build in different directions. Like the next up comes Krace talking to Lorel.
Well, let's deal with the Henta and Eren situation first. Like, okay, basically they have like 3 or 4 points during this episode. They talk about Eren's journey.
Yeah.
How she basically got turned away from the peacekeepers, and I mean, she gets accused of deserting by Henta, and she goes like, "Well,
betraying."
And
then Eren says, "Well, a deserter, more technically,
at most a deserter." Because I mean, okay, so the argument that Henta throws at her is like, "Well, Krace turned you away, but then after Krace left, you could have come back because now Krace was no longer in command." And she goes like, "Well, I got declared irrevocably contaminated, and it doesn't really sound like that's something that would be turned around easily just because the commander who did it got turned away."
I mean, do you feel that Eren made that argument? Because I don't think she did. I think that Eren sees that she could have returned as well.
You could have come back.
It was too late then.
You think you didn't have a choice?
I didn't want to come back.
But then she admits that like she didn't want to at that point. So
Which
there's a
is
difference.
the truth.
But it can both be true.
No,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. And I think that Eren knows that. I think that Eren knows that she could have returned. That was an option that was open to her. Because by the time that they reached the asteroid field at the end of Season 1, and Krace defected, she knew that Krace had been operating illegally for quite some time.
Yes.
And that her dismissal could be administratively reversed because it was a decision of... At the time, I wouldn't have said that, because at that point, I had a different point of view of the peacekeepers. But yes,
after all the things we've seen with Eren's mom and how things have like that gone, like, yeah, there would have been an option for an uncontamination. You know, it's like, okay, yes, you've been declared permanently contaminated, but you know, it's not as irrevocably as we said. Like, amends can be made. You know,
like many military organizations, they value their personnel a lot more than they let on.
Right. Yeah.
Right. An officer like Eren or like Xalax is hugely valuable, and while they can be very strict, it's not something that they will just do away with if they can avoid it.
Yeah. No, very true. So that's an interesting thing. It doesn't really go much further than that, I believe, other than that they seem to like get a little closer to each other's point of view on this matter. Because Henta really sees her as a traitor, and Eren nuances that a little bit.
She's honest and open in a way that I don't think she could have been before, like, Season 3, honestly.
No, totally not.
Lieutenant?
Captain?
No longer. What were you told?
Only to assist you as required.
And are you displeased with this assignment?
Why would I be?
Working with someone who has lost his command.
Scorpius stole your command. I knew he squeezed you out of power.
What else do you know?
That even though you left without a word, I never changed my feelings for you.
Now we get to the scene where Krace and his Leviathan technician specialist...
Officer Lorel,
who turns out to be one of Grace's old squeezes.
The thing that they say to each other is,
I don't hate you.
I don't hate you either. And there's just more kissing.
I've got that. I've literally got that written down. It's like that's a PK declaration of love here. It's like it's like the Finns. It's like they don't say I love you. They say I hate you the least.
That's mean to the Finns. and their sort of cultural value of sisu and their enjoyment occasionally of breakfast croissants.
Yes.
Because they apparently had a relationship, a sort of an extra recreational relationship that inferred affection.
Ooh,
so
that's against regulations.
Yeah.
Can't have that.
For both of them.
But
I mean, she admits,
Scorpius. He knows about our past. He put me in the Aurora chair, found out everything. He said if I didn't spy on you, he'd destroy me.
It's as I expected. Everyone who knew me would be coerced into spying.
But I'm totes not spying on you.
And I was totally hating you after you left, but now that I realized that I missed you anyway, and I want to be with you again. And as we learn, like, what 2 scenes later is like Martin goes, like, did he buy it?
And he believed your confession?
Yes. He trusts me completely.
She says to Braca, like, that's how... Wow. She did not take the advanced course in duplicity, I think.
No.
Grace certainly did. But that sort of declaration, it reminded me of one of my favorite lines from Nacho Libre with Jack Black and a bunch of other fantastic actors where the character Escoleto says, I used to hate orphans, but now I love them. Just the extremity of both those really pointless statements that you consider very sincere
and profound. Yes.
Yeah, that reminded me of them. I don't hate you. Well, I don't hate you either. I love orphans now. Okay, so there's more of Crichton sort of exploring the data that Strappa is presenting, and Scorpius is getting impatient. So I guess we're supposed to infer that quite some time has passed. I mean, we don't know if it's hours or days, and it kind of doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
For the scale.
No.
Like, it could be weeks at this point, and it still wouldn't matter for the scale because nothing else is happening, and it's just this... No. Scorpius knows how tenuous the situation is, and in fact, a lot more than even we do at this point.
Well, yes, because he's, like, agreeing to, like, we need to hurry up, we need to hurry up, we need to get this wormhole technology working. And there's a bit of tech blah, blah, blah about why it isn't, and, like, mostly about formulas and extrapolations and stuff like that. And it actually cuts to a scene of John and Harvey. We get the second black and white scene in this episode.
Back in the truck.
Yep.
Hanging out, smoking. I love how Harvey... I mean, he's basically a sort of cosplayer, right? He wears fantasy-appropriate outfits whenever he can, but he's still got the Scorpius...
outfit underneath, yes. He's like, so he's still the Scorpius outfit, but with a... U.S. Army uniform over it.
Yeah, he's got a GI helmet that he puts on with great sort of joy. He loves dress up.
I guess so, yes.
Oh, turn back, John. Shut up, Private. We're going in.
I mean, I guess he gotten used to it in, like, being in John's mind and being subject to John's whims when it comes to that sort of thing. And, like, it beats getting stuffed in the dumpster.
And I guess this is his world now. My world is this mind with all this stuff in it. I'm just going to enjoy it and have fun with it. Even more fun than the person whose mind it is. Because he also tells John, you've been lying to Scorpius, thanks to me. I've been normalizing your energy fields.
Yes, I thought that was a really cool thing. Because, like, he didn't used to be able to lie to Scorpius. And,
no one could.
Yeah, and now Harvey's been controlling that. So this is again a hint that Harvey is at least playing John's side for the time being.
Yeah, because that's where he keeps all his stuff.
Yeah.
And then we cut to this gigantic hangar.
Yes.
You got little people walking around, and there's Talon.
Oh, it's magnificent.
Just floating above them. That's
being brought in, yes.
Yeah.
We get a first good look of the scale that Talon really is on.
Yeah.
'Cause he's being brought in, and they're like going to go to town on him, and
Oi!
Well, that's what they're going to do. They're going to strip his guns. They're going to, like, basically remove all of the peacekeeper programming and other things. And
okay, but we have a friend who recently went in for surgery for a hernia, for a medical intervention. You don't say that, some butcher went to town on his spine.
Fair enough.
And then we get further confirmation of just the tremendous scale of this command carrier.
Yes, because there's, like, this park, which they've got a cool scene where they, like, go through doorway, and then they kind of have the hint of these overhead ribs, and they kind of
That
walk
are
in, and there's a
miles up.
monument there.
Yeah.
And then after that, everything's just shot in a park.
Welcome to Sydney Centennial Park,
yes.
where they filmed in a morning where there was an extraordinary amount of mist, and the special effects people went, "Yay! Yay! This is going to work so great!" It was really, really kind of surreal. Like, it was meant to be much more sun-dappled, but for production reasons, they could only film in the morning and not in the evening. So, yeah, they sort of hang around here, and you see children.
Yes, well, I mean, this apparently is a training exercise area for, like, combat simulations.
Yes,
and there's
planetary simulations.
And there's about 40 of them across the carrier.
Yeah.
And this place is huge, yes.
And they use them just for, okay, this is an urban environment, and this is a sort of a sylvan environment.
And now apparently they're just like having a little walk around, because, I mean, I guess it makes sense to let them like use it to experience a pleasant bit of nature.
Yeah.
While people aren't combat
it's
training
like
in
the
it.
parade grounds. They're also used for drills sometimes, but only certain areas, and the rest of them are fine to walk through. This sort of further emphasizes for me the idea that Erin may have never set foot on a planet for the first decades of her life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially as you can see there's PK children running around there.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, when she was in Australia, then not her, because it wasn't actual Australia, but still, as far as she was concerned, she was on a planet.
Wait, what are you saying?
In the episode where the aliens are trying to, the ancient ones are trying
a human reaction.
That's the one, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that must have been familiar to her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would have been her thinking that she was on a planet. We know that she didn't know about rain.
Rain. Is that what you call this? I like it.
Yes, that's right. That must be something that they can't simulate here.
I guess not, no.
Something to inform them about, to improve their training. But yeah, they've chosen this location, which, like the sort of
the medical sauna,
spa,
yes, is apparently an area which cannot be monitored very well, or at all.
Tricky, or whatever, because they need to talk about... Crichton is actually starting to doubt his mission.
Mm.
He's not sure that he should be sabotaging Scorpius, because Scorpius is acting very sincere.
Yes.
And the Scarrans are indeed a huge problem.
So that's something that I actually noticed, and we hear right at the beginning of the episode, that apparently the Scarrans outnumbered the Peacekeepers 10-1.
Yes, we learned that in Incubator.
And they're also much stronger soldiers. So why haven't they run them underfoot already? Which is why I don't understand. Like, one Scarran is an easy match for several Peacekeepers. And they outnumber them 10-1.
Yeah, but...
That sounds like a superior force.
It is a superior force. It definitely is a superior force, but it is in the interest of a superior force to still choose the path of least loss.
Fair.
And a direct conflict... I mean, okay, you've got principle of mass, so a superior force 10-1 is not even going to lose 10% of its forces, but that's still a significant investment that you can't make elsewhere.
Yeah.
You still, I mean, if it's whole civilization to whole civilization, but the Scarrans may have other polities that they want to conquer more than the Peacekeepers right now. Right?
Possible, but, I mean, yes.
Well,
I wouldn't
who
consider it
knows?
likely, but yeah.
Who knows what's on the other side of Scarran territory that they're dealing with that the PKs never learn about, or who knows how that works. I mean, the discussion of politics is very relevant because Rigel is scanning this galaxy map. Hey, we've got a GIF of the galaxy map here.
Oh?
Look at that. After the park, there's a... And it sort of reminds me of, like, Namtar had a sort of hologram way back in DNA Mad Scientist. Is that our galaxy? I mean, it looks like a spiral galaxy with two arms.
Yeah, so it could be, could not be. I mean, we learn at the end of the episode that Earth is 60 arns at full speed.
Cycles.
Sorry, 60 cycles, yes.
Yeah.
Cycles, yes.
So, we don't know what full speed is that. It's like extra galactic?
H 100?
Who knows?
I don't know.
But Rigel is really excited to find out that Orin wasn't lying.
By the Hynerian gods, Orin wasn't lying. Bishan's in disfavor. If I returned, I could muster up an army, incite an uprising, and restore myself to power.
That Bishan is in disfavor, and...
4 of the 6 core planets is trending negative or something.
Worlds.
That was
How many
yes.
home worlds does a species have?
You'd think only one, but it might be so old at this point that they consider them, that they don't know which one was the original.
Or maybe they were even a multiplanetary species before they became a sentient species?
I mean, I don't understand how, but yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe multiplanetary reproduction or migration through some
Yeah, I mean,
means?
it's possible. These
But not interesting to you as a science nerd. Okay, fine.
No.
I can see it now. The serried ranks of my supporters. Rigel.
I mean, it is completely uninteresting because the only answer to is whatever the plot writers come up with.
That's never stopped us from having 25-minute digressions before, Kay, and you know it. By this time, Jewel and Chiana and Dargo have returned to Moya.
Yes.
After Mr. Buzzsaw's attack, they decided, okay, the fewer of us that there are here,
Yes.
the less
Braca
chance.
protests against it as because it also gives them less hold on John and the remaining people.
And Scorpius is desperately holding the deal together. Yes, anyone can leave. We hope that you won't. Please do. Let's just continue the work. It's so important. But while on board Moya, Chiana has another vision of Pilot screaming, and shortly after, he does indeed.
Because there's a new retrieval squad shows up. Moya immediately tries to starburst, and just before they make it out, they get stun-shotted.
Peacekeeper ships.
A marauder and 2 prowlers, approaching fast.
Another retrieval squad? Really, Scorpius?
Starburst now, pilot.
Yes. Prepare for immediate starburst.
Oh my god, the beautiful sort of shot of Moya's skin illuminating and then it being interrupted just before she can finish by this beam. No, I know that sounded like a rude thing, but that wasn't what I meant. Sparks fly everywhere. Pilot, he screams and there's more sparks and it's utterly disastrous. We cut back to Moya's son where Laurel is just awestruck. Absolutely, her breath is taken away.
Yeah, she gets her first look at Talon, and she's like amazed at what Talon looks like.
I wish she would have said the same, like Kal Tanavachi Voko, which the fact that she doesn't sort of suggests to me that may have been Crace's native language, like his non-peacekeeper language from the farm where he grew up. Oh yes, no. Here's where there's the conversation with Eren and Henta.
Yeah.
Cut back to Crichton and Strappa.
Yeah, we've kind of covered this. There's a lot of back and forth between these scenes, and we've kind of I think, talked about how they play out.
There's 2 fun bits here in this conversation with Crichton and Strappa, and one of them was Linfer.
Mm-hmm.
That Crichton mentioned that he knew her briefly while she was there, and Strappa was clearly quite smitten with that scientist.
And, he mentioned that she got... right at the beginning, there's talk about, the liquefaction of the pilots, and Strappa is like, oh, you know about that? And it's like, yeah, it happened to Linfer shortly after she arrived.
Oh, did you see Scorpius' face when he heard that Linfer was dead?
Oh, I don't recall, no.
He looked disappointed.
Oh, okay. I guess he would have wanted her to, live, because, great scientist.
Yeah, and maybe also a traitor, or but that's not even what I read. I thought it was just a regret that such a brilliant light had gone out.
Right, exactly that. Yeah.
Linfer suggested this formula. I disagreed.
You two argue a lot?
She was a great mind and a tragic loss.
Yeah, I really didn't get a chance to know her. But I liked her. And you obviously liked her. That's good.
However, things are about to change.
Yeah, because Crichton just has an inkling. He just has an inkling. Wait, that's not right.
This is wrong.
Would you see a flaw in her extrapolation?
Just a hunch. That's all right. But there is another way to go.
But before he can elaborate, he hears, whoa, what's happening? Moya has been captured.
And is being brought in.
And what's going on? And Scorpius Scorpius isn't there to answer any questions and rushes down to the command deck. And we are introduced to...
Commandant Milon Grazer. And you must be the infamous John Crichton.
Infamous.
Milon Grazer. Grazer is her name.
Grazer, okay.
Another short-haired peacekeeper woman, this time with piercing blue eyes.
Looks a bit like a Romulan. Oh, sorry.
I see what you mean. with the haircut. I mean, she has
Yeah.
a very Roman haircut. See, originally, the design that Dave Elsey had for this character was essentially like Queen Elizabeth. Very severe, very, I guess we would say a Queen Amidala.
Right.
But then Rebecca Riggs was cast, a fantastic Australian actress. I should have remembered where I know her from, but like she's tremendous. And in fact, Anthony Simcoe, who's known her for years, was delighted that it sort of feels like we're getting the whole band back together. Like first they brought in Tammy, who was his flatmate back in the day, and now Rebecca Riggs, and they performed together. And she approaches Officer Reljik, whose name is Rejlik or whatever, and praises him for fulfilling her order to seize Moya, because it wasn't Scorpius' order, it was hers. Commandant Milon Greza apparently can issue those orders.
I mean, he sent out a retrieval squad, I guess. So,
Yeah.
yes, Aaron and John immediately go trying to find out what the hell is going on here.
Yeah, it's really complicated because Dargo and Jewel and Chiana are now back on board the command carrier. Scorpius goes to sort it out with Greza, who introduces him to the third and a half Luxon that we've seen so far.
This gimmick project
is under my authority.
Your authority is not absolute, Scorpius. Let me introduce Cortosco, Special Luxon Ambassador.
The Luxons have signed a defense agreement with the Peacekeepers. I have been sent to promote other such alliances, but half the planets I visit fear Peacekeepers.
The other half laugh at us for our simple inability to capture a handful of escaped prisoners whose exploits are becoming legendary.
Why should we care what insignificant systems think?
He looks a lot like Dargo.
Yep, a different headband.
Yeah.
But still with the full tenkas, a similar set of moustaches, different tattoos on his chin tenkas,
Yeah.
and a much slighter figure.
Yes, and he was much smaller, and I noticed that as well.
He's presented as a diplomat who is fulfilling, like the Luxons and the Peacekeepers have now signed a non-aggression treaty, and the Luxon diplomat is out on a mission in the Uncharted Territories to persuade other polities to align with the Peacekeepers, but they get one of two responses.
Yeah.
Fear of the Peacekeepers, or
like, haha, you can't even deal with a little band of insurgents and screw you guys. Yes.
Laughter that the Peacekeepers can't even obtain this one little band on a Leviathan, an unarmed Leviathan.
Yeah.
And that apparently, like, their exploits are now legendary.
They're getting a reputation, yes.
I mean, we saw that back on the commerce station in Sons and Lovers.
You know, I heard he destroyed a Peacekeeper Gamic base, murdered an entire Nabari battalion, even laid waste to a shadow depository.
And Greza is trying to, convince most of the Uncharted Territories to pick a side, which I was like, these Uncharted Territories are getting much less uncharted by every episode that we see. It's like there's quite a bit of charting going on here, as far as I can tell. It's
leading me to believe that it's a spelling error into the Uncharted Territories.
Right.
They're out to make chart. No, that's a purely specious bug. And here's the big difference between their approaches. She believes that the way to preserve the Peacekeepers is through appeasement, through de-escalation, a diplomatic solution being explored, and that a show of strength at this time is counterproductive.
Whereas Scorpius is very much the hardliner. No, we must have superior weapons, because he really hates the Scarans, and he would like to just get this wormhole weapon and then use it as much as he can against the Scarans.
Yeah. He said, I don't care about ruling the universe, but I do want to exterminate this one species that I hate.
So
yeah.
I think that might actually be a leverage that they can use against Scorpius in the future. We clearly see here that he's not fully in charge. I mean, he was in charge of the project, but apparently he can be overruled by the full council.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be.
And that the loyalty of his crew
is questionable.
Very conditional.
Yes.
And, I mean, it looked like he's been living on Easy Street, but he totally hasn't been. As he says to Crichton, after he dismisses Greza and orders the officer who was on her side, who is apparently the only one that he can rely on, to escort her back to her craft and send some prowlers to escort them out of the...
And she's like, I'll come back with a search warrant.
Yeah, basically.
And
yeah,
because again, he's trying to appease. He immediately almost apologizes to the people on Moya and sorry, I didn't order this. And it's like let's
Crichton is on the comms with Pilot and says, no, Scorpius didn't mean to do it. Tell him.
Crichton, we were attacked. Immobilizer pulse.
I know, pilot. It's all right.
Moya won't accept a control collar. Rather be dead.
There is not going to be a control collar. Tell him.
Crichton is correct. Your capture was an error. This situation will not occur again.
He means it, pilot, and tell Moya I'm gonna hold him to it.
Thank you, Commander.
And Scorpius, like a good little lapdog, agrees. It was an accident. It will not happen again. I'm under control now. Please, let's continue. And as Greza is being marched away by the lieutenant, God, I have to look up his name.
Lieutenant Relgic, isn't it?
I am honored you remember, ma'am.
She pushes him aside and said, "Follow your orders." But she's hidden a little communicator.
She adjusts Rezak's collar and puts a little comms device in there, which we see used almost immediately, where she is like going like, "Oh well, I have concerns about Scorpius's health. Wouldn't it be a shame if something happened to him?"
Yeah, well, it's very difficult to get to him, but now with the iEng bracelets and poor Crichton, then I'm
very concerned about Crichton's health as well. Yeah. Yeah, that was great. She's like, get rid of them. Because apparently she can go and get approval from full high command, but she's either that's going to take too much time or she's not as confident that she'll get it as she's letting on.
There is some of that, yeah.
So it's one or the other, or maybe a bit of both.
There was some moon eyes being made by the lieutenant to her, like when she identified himself. Oh, I'm honored that you remember. Senpai noticed me.
Yes. We have a few more scenes, like a talk between the various people, which we've covered. And then as John and Erin are making their way to, I don't remember where they were going.
They're just walking somewhere, and then she goes, I'm being followed. Let's go down here.
Yes, that's it, yes. And they're being attacked by Renzak's goons and his goons.
Yeah.
In this fantastic, I think it's called generator, although...
what is it generating?
It looks more like a battery to me.
Right. It's this grid of open cubes,
which are floating,
with sort of red plasma balls inside. It must have cost a fortune to render these graphics and to mask out all the set.
Because we get a kind of protracted fight scene, which is great, by the way. As far as fight scenes go, I love how this one went.
Yeah, because it's hand to hand, two of them hand to hand against one another, and like John sort of realizes that this person is taking a very advanced combat stance. Okay, better run.
Oh, hell, karate, man.
Yeah. And yes, people get thrown into the cubes and die, and we learn very quickly why they're not shooting, because one of the goons forgets about this, takes a shot at Erin, the blaster bolt gets slowed down and then sucked back towards its target, its origin, and blows up.
And you just take a step, right?
Yeah.
But... no, John finds a handy weapon on the ground because apparently they use jetpacks to perform maintenance on...
Yeah, that sounds safe.
Instead of ladders.
Yeah, because you want to bump into one of these things in your toe, so you really want to be free-flying through them. He uses it to blast one guy into the cube, then goes flying off on his own. Rezak grabs another one and follows him up. Scorpius knows...
Rocketeer.
It is Rocketeer. Scorpius knows that there's trouble because every blow that John gets, he feels as well. And he gasps to Baraka that John's under attack. Like,
find him. Sitting in a chair being knocked about. It's so good. John manages to knock the lieutenant into one of these balls.
Yes.
But by this time, he's lost his own jetpack.
Yeah, so he's like hanging around there at the top, like almost getting scorched by one of the balls until... Is it Baraka who shows up? I don't know. Someone shows up and basically shuts down the whole power grid. Yep. I love this fight scene. This was a great...
I'm glad you did. I was so on the fence because it is a bit silly.
It is silly, but it's still great.
Right? The sort of jetpack fighting where they're flying up and down and sideways and these cubes, it's so unnecessary and it's so good. And then we finally come back down to, Scorpius's boudoir.
Yes.
Where Crichton is chilling, and this time Scorpius doesn't apologize.
No.
Hey, how did it feel at your end?
The time is running out. Commandant Greza will return very soon.
Work it out, Scorp. Get your ship under control. They were after me to get at you.
Realize that the situation has now changed. Our fates are now well and truly linked.
This time Scorpius realizes, okay, my crew's mutinying.
Yes,
I've got no more control.
I'm only holding on to this from a position of power, which might soon be eroded if, in fact, Greyza comes back with orders.
So I can't bet on Crichton's cooperation, because he hasn't demonstrated enough of that.
No, there's not been enough progress for Scorpius to believe that John is still acting in good faith.
And he pulls a card, which is to show John a hologram of Earth.
Yep, and he goes
it's the mid-American side of the hemisphere.
And he's like, yep, well, we did it took us a lot of work to get this out of your brain, and then it took us even more work to do some star extrapolation.
Yeah.
And we know where it is.
You stole that from my memory.
It took quite some effort to triangulate the stars from your planet. More to gain a visual confirmation. Get the hell off of me, you freak! Even without wormholes, Earth is reachable. At top speed, just over 60 cycles.
The threat is, I will take this command carrier right now and we will drive it for 60 years to your planet to destroy it at the cost of everything else. And when Scorpius makes a threat like that...
Yeah, you know it. He's telling the truth, like he's willing
right?
to follow
There's
up on it.
No doubt.
No, absolutely not.
Finally, he puts away the carrot, and now there's the stick, and then it's to be continued.
Yes.
Like, I've seen this episode a million times.
Uh-huh.
It's great. Like, all of them I've seen a million times. And I didn't remember that there was this coda. Because I thought that there was going to be a literal cliffhanger, that he was at the top of the generator room and hanging by his fingers.
And you didn't remember that there was this little scene at the end of it. Oh, fantastic.
It was so great. And, yeah.
There we go.
That's the story.
So,
Wait, hold on. Which one does this do again?
She gives
That's
me
what
a
we
woody.
do.
She gives you the willies.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's
Well.
easy for me this time round. And
All right,
I
let me
normally
know.
have to, my Woody definitely goes to the CGI budget for this episode. I loved everything. The
exteriors.
The exterior shots, the shots in the hangar bay where they arrive. We see the transport port landing. We have the generator room scenes. Everything.
Yeah.
They went
Talon,
so overboard.
It was all absolutely sublime. Absolutely
So
great.
easy Woody there. Really, I guess the motivation between what's face Razak and like that whole scene with the power Mr. Buzzsaw, which was like, there was no point to that. Like, there's no way he could have spun that into a positive scenario. Like, it makes no sense. It's
I kind of feel like that's lower management thinking. Do you know what I mean? That's like shithead team leader who was elevated despite not really having good sort of people management instincts.
But he should know that.
Thinks that no, he's too stupid.
To think
I
that
think
he
he's
could,
just incompetent.
get that past Scorpius. I mean, like anybody who's dealt with Scorpius, you should know that. Like, no,
that's why I think maybe he hasn't. I think maybe he's a junior officer who hasn't been invited to
he's a bit
big
old
table.
to be a junior officer.
Well, people's careers move at different speeds, and not
Right.
everybody.
What? No, but I mean,
there's the Peter principle where you don't want to promote someone to their incompetence.
No, I get that, but then by that reasoning, he should know about Scorpius. Like, the only junior officer who doesn't know about how Scorpius works would be a new one, not an old junior officer.
True.
But
no,
anyway,
that's fair.
So that's as far as I guess for Willy's. I mean, that was a bit of a weird scene.
My Woody goes to the stupendous and yet still completely graspable expansion of the Peacekeeper world.
Yes.
Krace's world, Scorpius's world, Aaron's world.
It puts things into lovely depth of contrast that you suddenly get, and
which totally validates that Crichton starts to explore other ideas than everything he's thought about for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Just this one day. It might have been several weeks. It might be one day. We have no idea.
Just this one episode. He learned so much about context and thoughts about peacekeepers, and
he sees that this is a world that he hasn't understood. And he even checks with Harvey and Aaron whether the Scarrans are indeed public enemy number one, like to get that at least verified. And they say, yeah, well, who knows what he discovers if he sees that?
Yeah.
Like, he even gets the benefit of Scorpius's backstory that was revealed in Incubator. So he knows that now too. Absolutely incredible, breathtaking. My Willy goes to the jetpack fight, which I thought was just silly.
It was very silly, but
I know. I love that still. Much like with Iench, I love the big swings. So yeah, that's where I'm landing.
Right. I mean, totally valid, Willie.
Thank you. And that's the story so Farscape.
Please join us next time for episode 321, Wolf in Sheep's Clothing into the Lion's Den, Part 2, in which Scorpius, growing more desperate by the minute, happens to force John's hand by threatening Earth. Unable to lead the Peacekeeper scientist research astray, John rallies the crew to help him destroy the carrier itself, and discovers that Crace's alliances are not all what he expected.
Oh
dear.
An unusually sort of...
concise...
synopsis. They're usually much vaguer than this, so have that to chew on. Everyone at home, we hope you'll join us next time for another fan fiction, and you can send us your own if you like those. SoFarscape.com/links, that's where we keep our Patreon, where so many people have been supporting us. It's really, really wonderful.
Thank you so much. We love you all.
Thank you. This show really would not be what it is without you. The resources that we have, thanks to our beloved listeners and contributors, is really incredible. You can also send in your synopses. Hey, the last episodes of Season 3, a little bit thin. So check there to see which episodes you can provide a synopsis for. Probably all of Season 4 is still open to you. We absolutely love to hear from you. I'm Kaki.
I'm Kay.
So Farscape, so good.